Hey kiddos, welcome back. I hope you had a great first week. Today we're going to keep talking about 1.3b and we're going to keep talking about measuring and constructing segments. So today we're going to talk about something called the midpoint formula, okay? So the midpoint formula looks like this. It's one set of parentheses and it has your first x plus your second x divided by 2, comma, your first y plus your second y also divided by 2, close parentheses. This is how you are going to find your new point for the midpoint. So let's get started with our first example. Our first example, we have a point R at 1, -3, and a point S at +4, +2. Remember that all points are x, then y. And our x-axis is the one that is horizontal, and our y-axis is the one that is vertical. So since x comes first, we're going to move along the x-axis first, then the y. We always start at the origin, or 0, 0. So for point R, we're going to go right, because it's positive, 1, and down, because it's negative, -3. And that is our point R. For S, we are going to again start at the origin, or 0, 0, and I'm going to go to the right 4, because it's positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up 2, because it's positive. That is our point S. So if this is a segment, we want to find its midpoint, okay? It doesn't matter which point you choose as your point 1 and which one you choose as your point 2. I'm going to pick this as our point 1 and S as our point 2. So when we plug into our formula, our first x is a 1. Our second x is a 4. So I have 1 plus 4. I'm going to divide that by 2 and have our comma. Then I look at the y. Since this is our point 1, this is our y1. So I'm going to say -3 plus our y2, which is 2. Divide that by 2, and that's our first step to finding our midpoint. Now we just have to simplify. 1 plus 4 is 5, but we keep that divided by 2, comma, -3 plus 2 is a -1, also divided by 2. Okay? Now I'm going to convert these to decimals so that we can better imagine what they look like. But if you want to keep this fractions, that's okay. 5 divided by 2, and we can put that in a calculator, comes out as 2.5, or 2.5. Okay? Comma, -1 divided by 2 gives you a -0.5, or -0.5. Now that we have our midpoint, let's graph it, okay? So again, we're going to start at the origin and we're going to count over 2.5. So 1 box, 2 box, half a box. And then since we have a -0.5, we're going to go down a half. So from our 2.5 mark, we're going to go down half a box and make a point there. That is our midpoint. That is halfway between R, S. Our next example has R at +1, +4. So from our origin, I'm going to go to the right 1, because 1 is positive, and up 4, because the 4 is positive. And this is our point R. S has a +3, so we're going to count to the right 3. And since 2 is negative, we're going to count down 2. That's our point S. And if this is a segment, they are connected. And now we want to find the midpoint. Okay, so we're going to start with our parentheses. Just to switch it up from last time, I'm going to make S our first point and R our second point. So we need our first X, so that is 3, plus our second X, which is 1, divide by 2, comma, our first Y, -2, plus our second Y, 4, and also divide that by 2. Now we have to simplify. 3 plus 1 is 4, but we're going to keep that divided by 2, comma, -2 plus 4 gives you a +2, and we'll keep that divided by 2. Now we can simplify. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So our midpoint is +2, +1. So from our origin, we're going to go to the right 2 and up 1. Here's our midpoint. I'm labeling those with an M because it stands for midpoint. For our next example, we have R at +1, +2. So from the origin, we're going to go to the right 1 and up 2. And there's our point R. For point S, we have a +7 and +8. So we're going to count from the origin 7 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then up 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And up here is our point S. If they are a segment, then they are connected, and now we have to find the midpoint. So we'll start with our parentheses. I'll make this our first point and this our second point. It doesn't matter, you could switch them if you want. I will put our first X, which is 1, plus our second X, which is 7, divide by 2, comma. Our first Y, which is 2, plus our second Y, which is 8, divide by 2, close your parentheses. 1 plus 7 is 8, keep the divided by 2, comma. 2 plus 8 is 10, divided by 2, close parentheses. 8 divided by 2 is 4, comma, 10 divided by 2 is 5. So our point, our midpoint, is +4, +5. So from our origin, our center, we're going to count to the right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and count up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is our midpoint, so I will label it M. For our next example, we have R at -4, +3. So from the origin, we're going to count left 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And since 3 is positive, we're going to count up. 1, 2, 3. This is our point R. For S, we have a -6 and a +5. So we're going to count left 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops. I'll put the R on the other side. Since they are a segment, they are connected. So now let's find the midpoint. I'm going to make S our point 1 and R our point 2. It doesn't matter, you could switch them. Open parentheses, our first X, which is -6, plus our second X, which is -4, divided by 2, comma, our first Y, plus our second Y, divided by 2, close parentheses. Now we simplify. -6 plus a -4. A negative plus a negative is going to keep your negative. 6 plus 4 is 10, so we have a -10. We're going to keep that divided by 2, comma. 5 plus 3 is 8, divided by 2. And then we divide. A -10 divided by a +2 will give you a -5. And a +8 divided by a +2 will give you a +4. So, from our origin, we're going to count left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And because the 4 is positive, we're going to count up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is our midpoint, so I will label it with an M. For our last example, we have R at -8, -6. So from the origin, we are going to count left 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's a little off the graph here. And then since 6 is negative, we're going to count down 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is our point R. S is at -4, +10. So we're going to count left 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? And this is our point S. Since this is a segment, these are connected. If I could draw a straight line. Now let's find our midpoint. I'm going to pick this to be our point 1 and this to be our point 2. We start with our parentheses. So we will have our first x, which is a -8, plus our second x, which is a -4, divided by 2, comma. We will have our first y, which is a -6, plus our second y, which is 10, divided by 2. Okay, next we have to simplify. -8 plus a -4 will keep your negative. 8 plus 4 is 12, so we have a -12. And we'll keep our divided by 2. Our -6 plus a +10, since the 10 is bigger, we will keep its sign, so our answer will be positive. 10 take away 6 will give you a +4 divided by 2. And now we just simplify. -12 divided by a +2 will give us a -6. And a +4 divided by a +2 will give us a +2. So now let's graph our midpoint. So from our origin, we're going to count to the left 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we are going to go up 2. 1, 2. This is our midpoint, so I will label it with an M. On your homework, you are not expected to graph. I only want you to do this algebraic portion right here, okay?